Hello, music listeners, underground enthusiasts, and the people out there, yes, plural people out there, who have told me that I look like Breakins. You know who you are. It is a spooky, stormy summer night, and you may be wondering, why are we having a spooky episode? The lights are off, they could be on, I could turn them on, but I was at the grocery store yesterday, and all of the Halloween decorations were out, so apparently I must have missed something. We're back with another weekly tracks video. Hopefully my power does not go out in the middle of this, but if it does, with the magic of editing, you'll never know. Kicking the week off, we have Skele with I Can't Love You Enough. This is a bit of a shift away from what we normally hear from Skele, not too much by any means, but at least enough to notice a difference apart from the typical sound and style that we hear from him. The soft, somber vocal delivery is definitely still present from his other tracks, but recontextualized a bit in a soft acoustic indie rock environment, and I like it a lot. I think that it gives Skele space to stretch a little bit and explore new avenues of style and aesthetic. His vocals over the non-demanding percussion, plucked acoustic guitar, and distant piano chords all blend together pretty nicely to create a nice, sweet sound, and the writing is some of my favorite that I've heard from Skele as well recently, with vivid imagery and narrative-driven lyrics really pushing the song along. Overall, it's airy and sweet. I'm impressed and would not mind hearing more of this sound from Skele at all. We got a new angelworm track with Clovers. The song screams DIY in the best way possible. The harsh grain of the guitar and the wide body of the vocals make the song feel very upfront and personal, and this rattling and staticky percussion only plays into it even more. It's an interesting sound because every typical convention kind of distances itself from so many stylistic choices that make this song as good as it is. It's like bedroom indie pop with a heavily added element of grit, and it kind of comes off almost as this industrial pop in that regard, I suppose. Angelworm feels very comfortable on this cacophony of sounds which all whirl and blend together in a beautifully chaotic fashion. The smooth cadence of the vocals and the slow-moving delivery work really well, and with the added range later on in the song, it becomes clear that Angelworm is a talented vocalist and writer. The growing intensity benefits the track as well. I really like it quite a bit. Dex and Evan Carr have teamed up for No Shot. I've been looking for the song of the summer, and honestly, I think that my search is finally over. Holy shit, that thunder was loud. The lightning is like lighting up just the whole left side of my vision. Holy shit. The song kicks off with a muted and bright acoustic guitar, poppy drums, and infectiously catchy vocals. And the hook on this is gorgeous, with these chorus vocals harmonizing in the background as Dex cleanly belts catchy melodies and pristine notes. And this isn't to say that the song, in terms of emotion, reflects that. It's not exactly happy. It's a smooth and pretty pop song, but the main themes revolve around loss and the inability to recognize patterns of separation before it is too late and said separation has already happened or begun to take effect. And I think that Evan is the perfect match for Dex's half-shouted melodies, providing a less layered but no less well-delivered verse. It's a good balance. Both artists complement each other really well, and this is another week where I can confidently get to say, I love saying this, I can confidently get to say that this will probably end up being on my end of the year list. Then we have Ashtin and larold with Coping, joined by sydcxx on this track. Ashtin and Syd create a slow emo trap banger. I know that Ashtin is capable of making some hard-hitting, aggressive tracks, at least with my recent introduction to him, I know that. But I'm glad that I can immediately hear him in a new context to understand what else he is capable of. His straightforward, tired delivery flows well with the sharp and stuttered percussion of the production and the ambience of the strings in the background. And in terms of contrast, his flows definitely fall in line with a lot of traditional hip-hop flows that you would hear on songs with much more confidence, or at least perceived confidence, than this track has. But as the title suggests, the song details and discusses coping, or I guess the lack thereof, and the clean mix and straightforward delivery help provide the sense of authenticity that I like to hear on songs of this nature. He's got a really great verse, and if Ashtin has a bit of a clean grit to his vocals, Syd juxtaposes that with an equally ghostly and trancy verse. The subtle harmonies that creep up throughout the verse are ridiculously well done, and the pacing honestly matches Ashtin's flow pretty well. The airy sound of her vocals blend into the dark and moody aesthetics and environment of the track incredibly well, and honestly, this is a great combination of artists that I would love to hear together more. I think they complement each other really well. Kai's has recently released By the Creek, and I am going to kind of use this song as a bit of a crutch for the conversation we're about to have. So sit down, zip your lips, and listen up. Recently, I've really been enjoying this fusion of genres and sounds that people have been experimenting with recently and sort of pushing forward and experimenting with. That is taking elements of folk instrumentals and styles and infusing them into a more modern and of the internet era sound, creating a simultaneously organic and distorted process sound, and I've really been loving it recently. And I believe that on By the Creek, sydcxx has kind of given the quintessential example of where this genre is and what it is capable of, you know, doing in the future, where we can take it from here. The wide, moody vocals are beautifully delivered, with a certain sense of elegance but also sorrow to them as well. It's a stunning vocal performance, and it makes you wait for it, but when the energetic peak reaches its highest point, the fusion of genres, it really, you can see it in full effect, with sydcxx executing some really great intensity in their vocals over some overwhelmingly saturated 808s and demanding pacing in a way. It is a beautiful song that is obviously made with a lot of thought and care put into it. It's definitely an impassioned performance, and there's just so much to like about it. I'm really happy with this sound. I like what sydcxx is doing it. I really like what other people are doing with it as well. Out of all of the sounds that I feel like have popped up over the last, let's be generous here, year or two, in the past year or two, this is definitely one that I think has grabbed a lot of my attention. Benji the Machine has dropped It Happens with Rit, and we have another blend of alternative rock and emo, a sound that has become increasingly popular since the initial emo boom of the late 2010s, with crunchy guitars chugging throughout the bridge and the chorus as noticeable auto-tune vocals belt out these sliding melodies. It's really well done, with a lot of compelling lyrics and some really catchy vocals. It plays to its strengths in every bit of it, sometimes delivering a bit of a dampened mix to take advantage of a hazy and saturated ambience, and for other verses introducing an element of clarity to the mix to give the song a bit of a bite. Benji's production on this is really, really well done. I feel like it captures the alternative rock sound while also taking in styles from a more internet emo sound and working them in very, very nicely, very cleanly. And I think Rit's addition to this track is also super nice as well. Once again, another example of artists complementing each other in terms of delivery, in terms of style, but also at the same time, each providing something that they can provide to the track that the other maybe didn't. I like the song. I think it's super good. birdbay has dropped Pesticide. This is a well-produced indie rock track with some modern embellishments that separate it from the more traditional conventions of the genre. I guess a lot of the songs on this week's episode have kind of just been about subverting conventions, I suppose. The roomy, slightly saturated guitar in the beginning is really enjoyable. It's slick, but it doesn't feel too clean to the point where it causes the rest of the grit that comes later in the track to be a bit jarring. It feels appropriate. The major element of the song that stands out to me is birdbay's vocal performance in the areas of delivery and writing. His deep and impactful cadence is super great to listen to, especially in the chorus when the more thrashy and thicker guitar tones come in. I feel like in this section he's really able to display the range he is capable of, and it sounds fantastic. And the structure is interesting because after some smooth vocals for the first verse and a harsher tone for some energetic chorus vocals, the second verse almost switches to a melodic rap delivery, breaking away from the indie rock sound. The guitar from the first verse does remain, but the loose and organic drumming that was present is replaced with some piercing hi-hats and rumbling 808s, recontextualizing the sound of the song to a more melodic emo trap sound. It is a bit of a bold move, but it does work, and I'm happy that it does, because switching out the percussion, you know, something that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but switching it out does feel like a different stylistic perspective of the same song on the same song. It's a powerful track with some thoughtful production and some pretty fantastic vocals as well. We got Kurtis with Mr. Doorman. We are going to stay on theme with rock for this track because Kurtis gives a spacey and powerful performance on Mr. Doorman over a wonderfully produced Simon M instrumental. The song is heavy with wide guitars and deeply impactful percussion almost falling over each other, falling over everything like an avalanche into your ears. It's super pretty, but the overbearing instrumental adds an element of intensity that feels pretty emotionally brutal, that crashing down all at once the way it does. The hook on this is fucking wild. It's so weary and almost mellow vocally, but Kurtis's singing is surrounded by the impending doom of the instrumental. It's a really cool sound. The energy becomes a bit withdrawn for the verse, but the swirling and spacey melodies floating throughout the muddy atmosphere of the track play out so dramatically that any sonic energy feels replaced by an emotional one, and in a way the intensity stays the same in that regard. At only 2 minutes, I feel like Kurtis condenses a high amount of energy into a small space, and out of the alternative rock tracks that I have listened to this year, this one does really stand out to me. It feels really, really well done, and I like it a lot. I think it's so much fun to listen to. To end out this week's list, we have kennedyxoxo appearing once again on the video for Needle in a Haystack. Good Morning Los Angeles was my introduction to Kennedy, and the bright poppiness and insistent catchiness of that track hooked me in pretty quickly, and I feel like on Needle in a Haystack I am able to once more appreciate Kennedy's shining in their unique blend of harshly pitched and sharp vocals over acoustic instrumentals. I know that over the past year or so this sound has become increasingly popular. The aesthetic has become more popular than maybe it was in the past, but Kennedy kills this. I love the pitched vocals over the organic instrumental. Like I said, it's sharp, but it is a fitting contrast for what is essentially ear candy. But apart from the bright vocals and plucky guitar, Kennedy's writing is really poignant on this, and even with the more processed mix, the emotion really breaks through while they detail this feeling of disconnect from loved ones, dreams and aspirations, and the resulting isolation from chasing those things, and feelings of inadequacy in a lot of areas of life. It is a vulnerable track, and I think that Kennedy pulls together all of the right elements to make this a sonically compelling track, and a song that is also painfully relatable in so many different ways. Even as the instrumental builds and reaches its energetic peak, it always feels a little more reserved, and it doesn't make things too busy or too loud even at its peaks. I love this song. I love it. I very much enjoy it. I just always I give this detailed explanation, and then at the end I'm like, I liked it. I should just say that 7 times in a row. Liked it, liked it, liked it, loved it, liked it. End of the video. 10 seconds, if that. That's gonna wrap up this week's weekly video songs I listened to this week. But what songs did you listen to this week? Maybe these, maybe the same ones. You gotta let me know. I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know what you're listening to. I'm one man, so let me know. Big things coming in the future. I appreciate all of you for sticking around, and those of you who have popped up and subscribed recently, I appreciate you just as much. You're helping me do a lot of cool things, and I'm really grateful for that. Catch me in the next video where we kind of go back in time a little bit and really feel like we are at our best again. Bye.